So I think the general consensus going into this game versus a really good defensive line of the 49ers, a lot of Bengals fans, we had the same exact thought process, right? Going into this game, we're not going to be able to stop their pass rush. We're not going to be able to stop and beat their defensive line. And our line so far this season, that did struggle the first couple weeks. I mean, you see a lot of red first couple weeks. It has really picked up the last 3 weeks. You see Orlando Brown right there leading the charge against the Titans. Alex Cappa leading the charge. Orlando Brown yet again versus Seahawks. So going into this game, this was our real true test for our defensive line. How good can they play in this game? Can they play good enough that can win us this game? And I don't know how many people really expected them to do anything. And I'll be honest with you, I expected them to struggle. Well, the opposite happened. So let's talk about it. Because we have the pass blocking grades and we have the run blocking grades from yesterday. Keep in mind that Orlando Brown at the end of the game did go out. And it ended up being Cody Ford who played 4 snaps. Well, 4 run blocking snaps. He didn't play any pass blocking snaps, but it is something to take in consideration that I don't have him on here, but Cody Ford did actually rank in run blocking wise at a 61.5, which was better than Alex Cappa. So pass blocking wise, now let's be honest, you could look at yesterday's game and say, well, Joe was under pressure. There was a lot of plays where he was under pressure. And a lot of the ways that we avoided a sack was Joe broke some sacks, moved around the pocket, moved up in the pocket, right? So there were some situations where it wasn't perfect. So even though the stats right here and the grades come in at a 72.3 for Teddy Karras here, you could make an argument, well, he got beat on this play, he got beat on this play. But again, at the end of the day, his overall, how many snaps he had at pass blocking, which was a total of 18. Just a little shout out there. 18 is such a small number. We ran the ball so much yesterday, ironically enough. But taking a look at this, though, 72.3. 0% allowed pass rushing grade. So this is 0% of the times he allowed the guy to go right through him and get to the quarterback. Jonah Williams was a 70.6. He was our second best offensive lineman in this game at a 1.67 pass rushing grade. We also did have Alex Cappa come in a 65.3. And as always, our weakest part of our offensive line is going to be Cordell Volson. Now, Orlando Brown also had a really bad game, but you got to keep in mind he went against arguably the best defensive end in football, Nick Bosa, the whole entire game. So I really don't blame him that much. But if we go back and look throughout the season so far, Cordell Volson has been a problem. I mean, it's almost to a point where I just want him to have one positive week. And the most positive week he had, actually surprisingly enough, was this week. Against the Seahawks. It was his best week. I was going to say this week, but this week he still finished the worst offensive lineman out of all the offensive linemen. But against the Seahawks, he actually did come in here and actually put up a 75.3. And against the 49ers, one of the best teams in the league, he put up a 55.8, which really wasn't that great. Now, for run blocking, we did amazing. I mean, Orlando Brown was one of the best run blockers in this game. Jonah Williams, one of the best here. You can see Karras did have 63.5. Cordell Volson even did good at 63.4. And Alex Cappa was really the only one who struggled in this game in the run blocking department. But everybody else did phenomenal, A+ work, I would say, in the run blocking department. So that's awesome. That is absolutely awesome, because what that shows us is, even against the best defensive line in football, and let's be honest, guys, right? This 49ers squad is probably the best defensive line we play all year. You look at the other teams, Ravens have a good pass rush. You always got a good defense, right? But their defensive line is not better than the 49ers. They're not. The Steelers, yeah, you could make arguably, TJ Watt, we play him twice. I think the 49ers defense is a tad bit better than the Steelers, but I think the Steelers are great, but I think they're a tad bit better, right? Chiefs don't have a defensive line. I mean, they got Chris Jones, but look what they did yesterday against the Denver Broncos, right? Who else we played? Minnesota, they got no pass rush. Colts got no pass rush. Jacksonville has a sneaky good defense. I am kind of scared of their defensive line. Because just a lot of guys, Josh Allen's a really great player in the defensive line. A lot of guys that, you don't really think about Jacksonville, and they always have sneaky good underrated players. I'm thinking about who else we played, though. We played the Browns, obviously, last week of the season. That's a good defensive line. I think the 49ers a tad bit better, but I think Browns really good defensive line. Colts, they don't really have that great of a defensive line. Their defense in general was getting kind of shredded as of late. Bills, they have a good defensive line. Von Miller has been kind of up and down with injuries right now, but they have a good defensive line. I think that's it, right? Steelers, Chiefs, Jags, Vikings, we already talked about. Chiefs, we already talked about. Browns, we already talked about. Yeah, so this is the best defensive line we're going to play all year. That's pretty much that, right? And I don't know if there's any other defensive line that's better than the 49ers. I mean, I guess you could say the Eagles because they're so stacked, like so much good depth purposes on the defensive line. But other than that, no. So, when we go against, and again, listen, the point of this offense, right, and what we're seeing this year, is our offense is evolving throughout the year, right? It's getting better. You probably see this with our offense moving the ball yesterday and our line blocking better yesterday. And so it's not really what did you do in week 1, what did you do in week 2? It's what are you doing now, right? Because you could do the opposite point of view. You could start off playing amazing and then kind of slowly, fall down the hill, right? But we're going from like this all the way up. We went from rock bottom to where we are now. This is the best of the best, right? The 49ers. And we did a pretty damn good job. I mean, we didn't do perfect. We didn't, okay? You still see 2 red marks right there for the, pass blocking. 1 red mark for the run blocking. But everyone we play moving forward is going to be worse than this. So if this is our best, if this is what we can give every single week, we can beat anybody on this offensive line. This offensive line can be good enough to beat anybody in the league. Maybe outside of the Steelers, again, the Browns, and I would say potentially the Eagles, if we play the Eagles in the Super Bowl, right? Everybody else, this offensive line should be fine. And throughout the last couple weeks, from week 4 to now, we have seen the progression. And that's what all I want to see and all I've been wanting to see is the progression of our line getting better. Now, keep in mind, yesterday was the first day that we ran under center throughout the whole entire year. So that's definitely, a little bit change up for our offensive line. They had to get used to some reps, with under center rather than reps with dropping back in shotgun as much. But still, again, like I said, pretty damn good versus the best of the best. So I want to see this moving forward. This is how we need to play. I would love to see Orlando Brown do a lot better than he did, but he was coming off injury, so I'm not going to really talk too much. Volson, he's going to be a problem this whole entire season. I just hope he doesn't end up, costing us something in the end here at the end of the season, but I don't think he will. I think that, he'll continue to progress too, and he might just have good games and bad games and games where you look at him and you're like, wow, that was pretty dang great, but then games where you look at it and say, that was pretty dang bad. It is what it is, though. At the end of the day, we won. And our line, they're looking okay. Peace out, guys.